Hello and welcome to another episode of Test, Optimize, and Scale. It is a pleasure to have Aggroed here from Splinterlands, CEO, founder, to talk about his history, the creation of one of the largest, if not most popular Web3 games to date. Talk about some of the usage, the numbers, all of the growth statistics that you could apply to your model. Aggie, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, absolute pleasure to be here. You and I have connected a couple times over the last couple of years, so glad to be able to be on the podcast. Thanks for sharing me with your audience, and it's a pleasure to connect yet again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And wanted to start with your history before going too deep into the world of Web3 gaming, current marketplace. Where did it all start for you? How did you get in path to create Splinterlands?
So I took the weirdest way possible. I'm a PhD chemist, and I was teaching chemistry at a military college up in Massachusetts. And my daughter was born, and she was very colicky. So whereas I had been hand grading everything, I needed to go use some online homework for the first time. And the product that I chose worked so well that I called the company to tell them about it, and they hired me to tell other professors about it. So I started traveling, sometimes just on the phone and other times traveling to different schools to go tell them about how this ed tech software would work, how it can help their students, and I'd present to the big committees. And then that company got acquired by a $5 billion per year publishing company, and now I'm doing this with like the biggest schools in the country and traveling, as many as 120 flights in a year, going all over the country. There's a song by Johnny Cash of "I'm an Everywhere Man," and I've been to all those cities and many more. All just part of like trying to spread the gospel of how good this was to help students. I caught the crypto bug in 2016. I'm one of the reasons I'm in crypto is that I don't really trust the governments. I don't really trust the fiat financial system. And I was just looking on the internet and Facebook feeds, and I ran across a project called Steem. Steem is a decentralized blockchain. Steem was a blogging platform on top of it, and I got really interested in here's a blog that you can run that no single entity can shut you down on. So I got started in that in 2016 and really caught the bug. I was just like this tool set, this blockchain experience. It's the first product I've ever seen that really protects freedom of speech. Like governments and humans will talk about it, but there's no assurance that you get it. The blockchain actually assures you have freedom of speech, freedom of economics. I can send my money to whom I want. It's really liberating. And I realized that crypto as a tool is the most powerful tool in the world to spread peace, prosperity, and freedom. And I said, screw it, I'm dedicating my life to this. And so in 2016, I quit my job and didn't look back. I was just doing, full-time crypto, whatever work I could find. And then and I met my partner, Matt, back in 2018. And the two of us share that same kind of vision, but he's a developer. And so he had, he wanted to make a game. CryptoKitties was blowing up. And he was like, what we really need to make is a game. And the other side hobby I had beyond crypto was that I liked making games. I'm a game designer. So when he said that, I said, it's funny you should mention that. I have a game on the shelf. I did a Kickstarter thing like back in 2014, made 20 grand or something, nothing to write home about. And I liked making the game so much, I made another, but I didn't actually publish it because publishing these things is terrible. Printed in China, ship it to the United States, hand ship these things to 1,000 different places. None of that is fun. So I made another game and turned into Splinterlands. And it was really because I met the right person at the right time, and he and I started working together to bring about gaming. Back in 2018, there weren't any like consumer-facing applications. It was all blockchains and all exchanges, but there wasn't something that you could really do. So we were one of the first games and one of the first applications built on the web to.
What an amazing storyline there. So starting as a chemist, working into software sales, and first getting involved there with your daughter, over 120 flights a year, being able to starting to see blockchain emerge, lack of trust around the government. I think a lot of Americans share that more and more these days, and certainly being part of the blockchain community since 2017 myself, that sentiment, then learning about some of the possibilities with Steemit on top of the Steem platform, looking towards what you were doing, years back with games, but trying to take advantage of the opportunity in the space. And I remember in 2018, a lack of sophistication, if nothing else, with games, and being able to partner with Matt, build up Splinterlands. Did you have any initial goals coming out of the gate? Did you know, hey, we want to be able to build it to these levels, version 2, this is the direction we want to go? Or was it more, let's roll this out and see what happens?
There's more, roll this out and see what happens. Matt always talked about it. I want to build a game. I want to build a game. He didn't say, I want to build a business around game. He said, I want to make a game. And so like it was almost a surprising side effect that like the whole thing was really fun and really popular. We started the company in May, and collectively from May of 2018 to the end of the year, we made something like $350,000. And that was totally unexpected. So Matt and I looked at each other and said, I think we have to quit our jobs and do this full time and see what this turns into. I mean, that it showed enough promise that you could live off of that. We didn't know it would be this big, this popular. We played more than 3 billion games, and we've done more than 2 billion transactions on chain. We're in 142 countries. The game is translated into 10 different languages. I mean, the scope and reach of this thing is just absurd. DAP Radar, which has a majority owner by Binance now, put out their 2022 report and said not only were we the most active game, but we were the most active DAP of 2022. So, I mean, it's been an incredible ride, and at no point, I always hoped that this would go big, but this is bigger than what I expected it to be, for sure.
Massive. You start talking about those numbers, 3 billion games played, the sheer user base. What were some of the events that really sparked that growth? You're talking, May 2018, some of the numbers that you received in revenues by the end of 2018. What occurred that year to have that word of mouth, that social sharing, which as a marketer is the ultimate form, the ultimate medium towards growth? What were some of the events that occurred to make that happen?
So back in 2018, when we built this game on top of Steem, originally the game is called Steem Monsters. People used to ask us, why did you guys build there? And it was always with this tone of, why did you idiots build on Steem? Like, why wouldn't you just do what everybody else is doing and build on Ethereum? And we looked at it, and Ethereum's like an incredible piece of software, but the scalability was not at all guaranteed, and arguably it's still not. We'll do more transactions on our layer 1 or like our game platform than the entire Ethereum blockchain. Like, that's how much transaction volume that we do. And so we looked at that and we said, look, it's not entirely scalable. It's not, there are issues here. And the gas fees are a problem too. At various times you got gas that was like $200. So like, how do you have a card that's worth $50, but you have gas fees of $200? You can't like move that, right? Nobody wants to spend $200 in gas on an item worth $50. So we recognized there were scalability issues very early on. And, if our goal was just to make money off of a handful of crypto bros, like Ethereum is definitely the place to be. But our objective as a company is to have a mainstream application servicing millions of people and billions of transactions. And we just knew we couldn't do that on Ethereum. Maybe you can eventually, maybe some of these layer twos will pull it off and make it look easy. But certainly back in 2018, it wasn't an option. So we started building there. And one of the side benefits was that the Steem blockchain had the Steemit blogging application built on top of it. And so you would play a game and you could earn some cryptocurrency, and then you would blog about it and you could earn more cryptocurrency. And if you did a video about it and you put it on YouTube, you could earn more crypto. That's just fiat, but you could earn in all these different ways by participating. And then we had, we could use our collective stake on the platform to share more rewards with our users. So they would write articles and we would give them micro payments to do it. And word of mouth just spread very rapidly. And so that's how we're like in 2018, 2019, 2020, those were the main ways that we grew. We just actually built something like you could play it and it worked and it would distribute tokens and it was fun and addictive and people really enjoy it. But things changed for us by an order of magnitude when in 2021 we released Splinterlands. Had a new governance token that was associated with it, and now you're earning this governance token, but also the governance token gives players an actual vote and actual decision making in the game. So at this point we've had teams that have come through that now has either chosen to modify the game or change reward pools or add a reward pool or shift what we're doing. And it's the players now, right? Like we'll build the ship code, but like here's an example. The players wanted a new promotional card, but they wanted it to be based off of how much SPS you had stake. And so we did it. We're shipping it out this coming week. It was a proposal. It wasn't something that Matt or I or any of the board members or any of the people that run this company were planning on doing, but this is what the players wanted, and they voted on it. And we said, all right, that's fine. That's not going to break our backs to do. So we built the promo card, and it's coming out. I think it's coming out just this Tuesday. But it's a direct result of the players using their governance to say, this is how we want things to go. And I don't know, when we did that, it just took off. People were so excited for that. To be able to have an influence in how a game develops and be able to use your stake to say, stand, get to make decisions of how it operates.
So it sounds like it's been the audience the whole time. 2018, you have users creating their own content, getting incentivized, getting rewards to do so, that word of mouth, having things grow. I worked in social gaming back in 2009, 2010 for a startup here in LA modeling off Zynga. I know the power of peer-to-peer marketing, as well as freemium play, and have spent a lot of time modeling out ARPU, average revenue per user type metrics. I know the potential there. I'm seeing how that led to your growth in 2018, and then even 2019, creating the DAO, and talk about seeing a use case of a DAO. I've spoken at DAO conferences. Decentralized autonomous organizations are more of a theory in many contexts, but directly leading to what you guys are building here today. I imagine there's a lot of social sharing occurring with that as well too. So you've really created this whole ecosystem more than just the game, for promotions, for governance, and that's what's really been the energy behind the platform.
Yeah, I mean, since 2021, people have gone nuts for this game. There's just so much. There's so much that they can do, so much influence they have. Like Bitcoin was the first decentralized money, right? And we're trying to decentralize money and make it so that whoever is running this platform, and there's not one counterparty, it's the whole planet. The whole planet is running this damn thing, and everybody gets to collectively decide what happens to Bitcoin. We're trying to do that for video games. we want to be the first decentralized video game where it's the, we'll do a lot of development, right? We're still going to help develop this, but we really want it in the hands of the players. We want the players to run that game. Like right now, you would, if you play Diablo or you play StarCraft, Blizzard runs everything. But now here with what we're doing on Splinterlands, like you, the player, will not only own the governance stake, but you're actually going to run different parts of the platform on your own servers, and it'll be a decentralized game. And so there'll be times where, it'll be up to the community. Like, do you want this change? Do you want this product? Is this how you want it to operate? And players might say no. Players might hopefully direct us early on rather than like we make something and then they say, no, we don't want it. Hopefully what we build is in collaboration with the players and the witnesses that are actually running the chain. And that those people, the people that own this game and operate it, are really the ones in charge of it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure the notifications and communications involved with this support monthly active user, daily active user stats. That involvement alone probably leads to a sense of ownership among players that just keeps them logging in more and more and more.
Yeah, I mean, I do it somewhat selfishly, but we've done a weekly AMA for I think over 2 years now. So like every week for 2 hours, we get together and we'll go talk about what's happening at the company, what we're doing, how it operates, what we're thinking about, and then ask questions or allow the audience to ask questions. And I used to get questions in my Discord like around the clock, and then when I switched to a model where it was let's just do a show and put all these questions into like a 2-hour time period, the amount of noise I got went down by a lot. So. But I think the players really appreciate this, that like, the CEO talks directly to them every week. They know what development is going on. They know what we care about. They know what we talk about. They hear us, they influence us, and then they vote proposals that might change the direction that we're going in. One of the things about Steem was that the technology was amazing, but it was run by somebody really terrible. Ned Scott was just like the worst leader I've ever witnessed. And so a lot of what I've done is really try to be the anti of that, of like, the people that ran that chain, he was like actively hostile with them, and he would not want to answer questions, and he would just frankly rude. And so I've tried to do everything in my power to be like, how do I open up the fishbowl and not just be a fishbowl for these guys, but how do I let them in? How do I let them in the damn bowl? And like, work with us and operate with us and think with us and design with us. That's what I'm trying to do with this game and this ecosystem, is be like, look, we're stakeholders in this and we're really important, but like, it's your game. And we're just here to facilitate what this community wants. And hopefully they experience that, in reality through the DAO and their choices, not just in, meaningless words by me as a community leader.
Sure. And speaking more about audience, you mentioned you don't want to just speak to crypto bros. What is the percentage breakdown from, gamers, blockchain enthusiasts? Imagine there's a lot of overlap in between. And part of the reason I ask is because, blockchain's not always the most popular word. And I, of course, am an enthusiast again through and through since 2017. Coupled with that audience question, how has popularity gone up and down, mirroring what happens with Bitcoin, with BTC and the marketplace? When there's a crash, do you see less users accordingly based on the audience base? Or is it, such an affinity for the game that it's just what you guys are built on and really doesn't have any effect what's happening in the mainstream markets?
If your game is nothing more than like a DeFi wrapper, or if it's like some Ponzi scheme, I've seen a lot of those literally go down to zero activity. But Splinterlands at its core is like a fun game. And while we have definitely gone down in the number of players that we have now that it's been a pretty rough and long bear market, we didn't lose everybody. And in fact, the last numbers that I ran, if you played a match in October, you were 88% likely to play a match in November. So like our retention was pretty good, even throughout, you know, a pretty difficult time period. And that's ultimately because the game is fun. The game has to be fun. In terms of overlap, you know, we're like a really, so it's pretty nerdy. They're very nerdy, stats driven, and they're a great fit for crypto. I mean, like if you like these kind of games, you have a high affinity for crypto. But it's not. It's not a brand new player onboarding, because like, you know, nobody knows how to play this game on day one. You're playing like first person shooter. You understand you have a gun and you shoot that guy, but like, you know, you might know you're supposed to beat people in Splinterlands, but like how you do that is way more complicated, and it's like this really rich strategy game. So part of what I want to do in the not too distant future is sort of open it up so that more casual games get played here, and so that other people that are developing all kinds of games can, you know, I want to be game agnostic, and I just want to help all these games get founded and then move into the blockchain space. So like ideally, anybody that knows how to build a Web 2 game can then come over to what we're doing and say, oh, we want to be a part of that. And we want to bring our Web 2 game to Web 3, and we'll have a tech stack that can help them do that.
Building on that, so you're looking to be a part of this, and I know we've talked about some white label technology, so people who are building Web 2 games on Unity, I believe other types of platforms as well, can then work with you guys, and all of the tools you've used towards success be able to leverage for their own concepts, for their own ecosystems.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The goal is to make it so that if you use Godot, if you use Phaser, if you use RPG Maker, Unity, Unreal Engine, any of those, we just say high five. We have a tool that helps you make that a blockchain game. You know, we want to bring that into this space. We want to bring this game here, and we want to make it easy.
Yeah, working with early stage groups, I can't tell you how many developers we've talked to that will never have a game reach the market. The way you guys have it streamlined, some of the hacks you're even sharing with me in terms of how to get something built on Unity to then work with you guys on, I think is just going to lead to a higher success rate across the board from those types of groups. So it's exciting to hear that you guys are rolling that out. And, you know, I hear a lot of, oh, go ahead.
Well, when I spoke to the head of product at some of these really big game engine platforms, you know, what they'll say over and over is the number one request is that they want to take their Web 2 games and put them on Web 3. So I want to enable that, and I want to help them do it, right? So how do they do it? How does that happen? How do you make that work? So, you know, we've been working on this for a little over a year now, trying to figure out how do we make it so that any game platform built on any engine can come here. So I have an SDK that a standard Unity developer could use and actually start build a game in normal Unity and just integrate it into what we're doing on the platforms that we operate. One platform we operate that is currently live is Genesis League Sports. And so I could take sports games built in Unity and put them onto this platform. And what we want to do is build sort of a slightly more generalized version that's more like an arcade where all these games can fit, not just the sports games, and let Unity developers come and work with us and be like, all right, you got a Web 2 game. That's great. Let's go turn it into Web 3 and let's see if we can make that easy for you. Because it's hard. The amount of stuff you have to do to make a Web 3 game is like intense. There's a quote. It's a dancing quote, but Ginger Rogers had to do everything that Fred Astaire did, but backwards and in heels. So that's like Web 3. You got to do everything that you have to do in Web 2, but now you have all this other layers of complication to deal with as well. How do you put it on a blockchain? How do you transfer it? How do you deal with all the different user onboarding? How do you distribute tokens? How do you give those tokens value? Where do you provide liquidity? There's just like a ton of questions. And then, if you've been operating for a couple of years, what do you do with all these extra cards that people don't want? That you put it out there, but you can't just print infinitely because there's only so much interest. And what do you do with the extra cards? And for the past 4.5, almost 5 years now, we've been a system that works and one that I think I can walk other people through. And so part of people coming here and building our arcade is that we can provide some guidance. Not only do we try to make this stuff easy, but we try to from the outset make it so that here's a wizard. You get walk through your wizard, and a wizard will make it forces you to make good decisions about your economy. So that if you just by being on this platform, it is more likely your game is successful than wrong for the long term than not.
The numbers show it. I know there's going to be a lot of groups in our network that are going to be interested to speak with you guys about it. As you said, that need for Web 2 to Web 3, common theme over the past year and a half or so, almost to default in some areas of the industry, but in gaming and what you guys have created, I think you're going to be able to eliminate a lot of the hurdles there, or at least make it a smoother process along the road. Like you said, you've already figured these things out over the last few years, and it's shown. When things have slowed down in the market, we've kept an eye on SPS. I've had friends, really champion everything that you guys are doing. Seen tattoos in the space. People are really fans of what you guys do and everything that the systems are built on. So it's amazing that you're opening that up for companies who are looking to take that next step.
You talk about marketing, and part of this is that when you have asset ownership, it just changes the way that you view something, right? I might play some of these Web 2 games, but I don't spend all day online evangelizing them. There's no reason why I would. I get no benefit. So maybe I'll tell a friend or two about a game, but I'm not going to go out day and night spreading the word. But that's exactly what people do in the Splinterlands. They'll go on Twitter, they'll go on Twitch, they'll go on YouTube, and they'll spend the game and the things that we're doing. One, because it's interesting, because they have a personal stake in the success that they have appreciated over time. So let's all work together to spread the way to bring new players. It's never for the entire community.
And just to speak to some of your success a little bit, you'd mentioned over 3 billion games have been played, millions of transactions. Our listener base consists largely of founders, marketers, and VC industry professionals. If they're looking to make some shifts in their marketing and incorporate their audience into what they're doing more, are there any tests that you recommend that they roll out, and any tips towards what they can attempt to incorporate into their own model?
I mean, the test to me is really sales, right? In this space, a lot of people just provide a token, but it's not like a product that you can buy. So they're just like, oh, do you want this token? I think sales, it gives you a really good metric for, is this something that people want or not? And so, don't just do a token and send out the token, but actually, have a product and sell that product and see if people are interested in buying it. That might sound silly, or almost absurd to say start with a product that people want, but that's the state of our industry, that not everybody starts there.
That's the validator, right? You can get a like, a share, you get some different activity on your platform, but once a transaction is involved, you'll see a drop off. So using actual numbers to be able to validate what's working and what's not.
Yeah, money. Will somebody spend money on this? Not just for the token, but for the product or the service. And a lot of people in crypto don't think that way. I mean, they see it as a token play. They're going to go launch a token and the token will go to the moon. But like, it's not a product and it's not a business. It's not a business to offer a token. You need a service or a product. So it sounds so basic and rudimentary that it's absurd that that's my starting point. But my starting point for the crypto bros that want to create new projects in the space would be sell something and see if you can sell it and see if people buy it, because that'll determine if you have something that the market actually wants.
And if it's sustainable. I mean, we've seen so many, like you said, tokens, coins get sold, pump. There's no future in it whatsoever, and it's not based on anything real, as you're mentioning. So sell it. What about if it's not happening? What if a founder looks to sell it, they're not getting the audience response that they're looking for? You guys have obviously had to make some optimizations to improve to be able to get where you're at today. What are your approaches towards that? What's the best way to address a lack of activity productively?
I think the users tell you an awful lot about what you want and what you should be going after. You got to be careful because, like Henry Ford said, if I had listened to my customers, they would have told me to make a faster horse. So, you can't rely on it 100%. You gotta use some of your founder vision in there too. But a big part of this is build a community. Get a Discord going, get Twitch, get Twitter, get your community in a place where you can interact with them, and then find out who the leaders are in your community and pay attention to what they're telling you. They'll tell you stuff. They're like, hey, this would be better if this card or this game or this product worked like this. And then listen and try to modify it to the point where, it's satisfying more of the needs of your users than it was before. And don't be afraid to pivot, especially based off of customer feedback where they're like, this is really important to me. Your answer should be like, all right, we'll make it important to us, and try to respond. And if you have that healthy live community and community interaction, they'll give you all the product information that you need.
So like you said with marketing, like you said with so many areas of the business, talking about the DAO, if you're using a closed loop of communication with your audience, they'll tell you what you need to optimize, what you need to change up. You need to listen. It is that balance. They may not be forward thinking enough or have unrealistic expectations. You don't want to make a faster horse versus an automobile, but being able to actually take those insights into the whiteboard discussion versus take a guess at what audiences want next.
Yeah, and they'll tell you it's okay. Be humble, try to listen, and make improvements. If your first thing is not knocking it out of the park, do some feedback, ask the players why, see what things they need to be different, and shift course, alter course, and I don't know. I think that leads to happy, involved users, happy, involved community members that feel like they're heard, feel like they're listened to, feel like they have a stake, feel like they can change things. Being humble with that experience, I think will get you pretty far.
And what about scale? Once you are humbled with the feedback, you're applying what you're hearing, you're getting a good response. You guys have obviously done a monumental job in terms of scaling your game and in the space, in the industry during, the up and down of blockchain through all the bull and bear markets. What, we've talked about some of the lead drivers being the audience and how they're creating content. But what are the key tips you may have towards founders for scale?
So, we would build things for ourselves, and one of the things we found is that if you change it up a little bit and you don't hard code as many things, it's about 10, maybe 20% more work to let other people build within your ecosystem. So rather than have it be completely closed loop, if you take a little bit of extra time, other people can kind of build there too. So like, if Splinterlands only has one token, it's not that much harder to have a second token. And then it wouldn't be that much harder to have other people build tokens as part of it too. So that kind of thinking, I think, helps people of give yourself a little bit of time to make your product more flexible to work with additional people so that, if one customer comes along and says, can I get a version of this and use it just for my company, that you're not like, well, no, because it doesn't do it. You say, oh, yeah, we've been configuring this and hoping for this since the beginning. So hopefully you have some idea of like how multiple groups could utilize your tech, not just you yourself.
Love it. Having that as the basis, but being able of what we would want, but being able to have others come in and build from there. I always think of the Wikipedia example. What is it? They did 6 months of work, opened it up, and had more created the next few hours than anything they put together in the development time leading into it.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that one of my key theses is like, if I can build an ecosystem where you can build a business inside of it and make money and be successful, I'll be successful. So like, we have guilds within our game. Well, a guild is essentially a business. It's like a group. It's a group of people going after a common goal. They're getting financial benefits. They're earning more tokens. They're doing all this stuff. They're building businesses. And, they're not just doing it because it's fun. They're doing it because they'll make money with the actions that they're doing. So if you have a mentality as you start your project, how can I let other people make money using this tech and this approach? They'll help you build the business. They'll not only pay you, but they will help you grow it.
Well, you are living proof of that, talking about all of the games, all the transactions, all the users that you guys have on a regular basis. Always enjoy our discussions. Even this week, you're talking about where the market may be going as a whole and around some recent events. We're hoping it's going to be a strong spring leading into the summer here as well. And, we'll be watching Splinterlands, SPS along the way. As we begin to wrap up the discussions, any final thoughts, any final notes that you want to leave listeners with on Splinterlands, the market, or anything you guys are opening up with the white label tech?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Web2 developer and you're looking for a home for your game, come reach out to me. Our community is at splinterlands.com. And if you look at the links at the bottom, you can find our Twitter and you can find our Discord group and find our Telegram and find out where we all hang out. So that's something I'd share. But generally, if you're looking to found projects in this space, authenticity, some level of humility, and really trying to put the community into the design process as much as possible. Not just passive consumers, but take these very ravenous fans and people that want input and give them a mic, give them a stage, give them a soapbox, and allow them to sort of lead the direction that you're going in. And you'll just get so much out of that you can't get if you're just like, I know everything and I know how this has to work. Be more humble and let other people contribute.
Bring them in. Community in the design process, the marketing process. As you mentioned, every step along with governance. want to be able to use that as the focal point, the highlight of the episode here. I know I'm going to be preaching it to my team, looking to have, clients, founders, taking a look at the episode in that as well too. Again, monumental what you guys have built. I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on, Aggie, and shed knowledge with us here. I want to thank listeners for tuning in as well. And thanks again.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jason.
Of course. Thanks a lot. And we'll see everybody next time.